Hello, my moon and stars. My name is Mauve, and today I have a little sketchbook session. Since my last video, quite a lot has happened in my life, and I had wanted to make a grander video to come back with, but the longer I held off until the right moment, the more I missed YouTube, and the more I felt like the perfect moment wasn't going to come unless I made it so. So, I decided better later than never. I want to thank everyone for their support and their comments during my absence. I read every comment, and I'm so grateful for this small community of mine. On to the video. Some of you may or may not have heard of a little comic named Black Sheep. Headlined by main leads Logan and Quinn, it has been constantly updated and workshopped over the years, with its author taking a hiatus to focus on taking the story to the next step. As a professional storyteller and the author's partner, I may or may not have been lending a helping hand with the newest iteration, and well, I can't ever just do something normally. I was so enamored with the storytelling and the characters that I had asked my partner, could I make characters for this? And, well, they said yes, so I made my own rival band to face against Black Sheep, formerly known as the RSVPs. This band is named Fortune Favors, and in this sketchbook session, I'm drawing the drummer for said band. Her name is Gabriella Gibson, and essentially, I just wanted to use this video to talk about her and my process for creating her. When creating the band as a whole, I wanted each character to fit well with each other but stand out on their own. So, to start, I gave each character a few key traits and motifs. For Gabriella, I originally assigned her an animal, a color, and an outfit aesthetic. And, well, at first, Gabriella was also just Gabriel. For a while, it was really hard to nail down character traits about Gabriel. I felt like he was too much, but not enough in certain aspects. I liked his design, but something about the elements of all of them together just felt shallow. Eventually, I had a thought to play around with Gabriel again, just change him to a girl, and funnily enough, that was all I needed. Suddenly, I had a wealth of ideas. So, first things first, Black Sheep's setting was changed to be in the South to reflect where me and my partner, the author, live and have lived almost our entire lives, which alters a lot of the ways that some of the characters present themselves and interact with each other. Coming from experience, depending on where you live in the South, the arts are either widely beloved and are the core foundation of the culture there, or it means nothing and the residents couldn't give a single shit about artists. I'd always envisioned Gabriella having an interest in theater and the performing arts, but was never encouraged to pursue it because it wasn't a stable job. I've had an idea that growing up, she loved school and her language arts classes, so she would have always had a huge interest in journalism and literature. As a young child, she would have been dead set on being a writer of some kind before her parents took her to her very first theater performance. Her eldest brother had been cast as Tree Number 2 in a middle school play. Initially there to support him, she was mesmerized by the lead actress. Seeing real people in real life act out scenes that only happened in books changed her life more than a movie ever did. From there, she strove to be one of those people who brought the written word to life. The only problem with that is that Gabriella is incredibly soft-spoken and shy. She grew up content to sit with the adults and read her books instead of playing with her 3 rowdy brothers. Gabriella was the youngest of 4 kids, with Owen being her oldest brother and Ross and Teddy being the middle twin boys. She was always far more aware of the world around her than her peers and was naturally more anxious and cautious about unfamiliar situations. Even though there was a large age difference between Gabriella and her oldest brother, Owen, he always took the time to listen to her and genuinely engage in her interests. Owen strove to become a professional chef, so a lot of their sibling bonding took place over a combination of food and literature. She struggles to talk to other people who aren't her family and grew up having a really hard time keeping up with friends who lived a more carefree life than her. She only ever had one really close friend growing up, which was an energetic little girl named Juniper. They were extremely close in elementary school over a shared interest in books, but weren't able to be as close in middle school due to being in separate classes. On top of that, in the 7th grade, Gabriella's family moved farther up north because her dad had scored a massive career job. The move was extremely hard on Gabriella, but she always understood it was the best thing for her family. Juniper and Gabriella kept up together through social media at first, but the distance and high school and time zones left their friendship to gradually stall. You know, the kind of friendship where you still follow each other and every now and then you like a picture of theirs, maybe leave a heart emoji, until it suddenly gets too awkward to acknowledge them because you haven't spoken in so long. Months go by without a DM between you, and while you've been so wrapped up in dealing with your life, you just realize that you've become ghost followers of each other, smiling at every story and post, never daring to engage anymore. Gabriella's heart ached for her hometown, especially as she had become even more isolated in her new school. She didn't adjust well to the new culture up there, never could dig her roots out of the southern soil. The only friend she had around was Owen, which dealt even more of a blow to her isolation when he left for college soon after they moved. Suddenly, she was alone in a house that was both too quiet and too loud. She loved her other brothers, but they were a lot to handle, and her mom and dad were always working so hard to provide them a comfortable life, and she didn't want to seem ungrateful. Fortunately, when she was 17, Owen gifted her a little Borzoi puppy. He wanted her to have someone to keep her company because Gabriella had decided that as soon as she graduated high school, she was going to return to her home state and attend the small college that their grandfather had attended. The small college was cheaper than the ones in her current state and offered the degree she wanted. Gabriella wanted to reconnect with her roots, and she was going to do it all alone if that's what it took. After seeing a photo of Juniper taking a tour at said college, Gabriella, after years, finally decided to reach out to her. While she was disappointed to learn that Juniper would commute instead of rent an apartment or live in the dorm, just the confirmation of a friend being there sealed her decision to apply for the cheapest one-bedroom studio apartment she could find, load up her car with her dog, and go back home. Rekindling their friendship, Juniper showed her around town to show off all the new changes, the new banks and gas stations, the family-owned restaurants that never changed. For Gabriella, it was a terrifying change, but welcome all the same. For Gabriella, it was like she never left. They would catch up over coffee at a shop named the Black Cat, which is relevant to another character. The way that Gabriella comes into contact with the story of Black Sheep is through two primary characters, Juniper and Juno. Juniper remembers that Gabriella used to love theater and tells her of a community theater her co-worker, Juno, also spends time at. There, a network begins, and Gabriella lands herself a part-time job helping out wherever she can at the theater. Side note, a small gimmick that I wanted Gabriella to have is that while she doesn't use social media a lot, she runs a little gimmick account for her dog, Davy. She pretends that he's running the account, taking selfies from his angles and typing captions as if her and him are roommates. For her, having such an unusual breed means conversations find her easier than if she were to engage herself. Speaking of her dog, Davy, while Borzois are not typically a very good breed for service dogs due to their high prey drive and independence, which makes it difficult to train, Davy was a special case. He had a more relaxed temperament with an indifferent prey drive, and though his independence still made him quite stubborn, he was an anxious dog himself. Thus, he kept close to Gabriella, and they comfort each other in a way. In the summer months leading up to Gabriella leaving for college, Owen trained Davy as much as he could. So, while Davy is not technically an emotional support animal, he might as well be one for how well they work together. Eventually, Juniper would start herself a little band and ask Gabriella to be in it. Gabriella refused at first because she had never played an instrument. While she was content to listen to music, she never thought about making it herself. Juniper asked her to try it out, and Gabriella couldn't lie. With drums typically set at the back of the stage, the instrument itself blocking most of the audience from your view, and a stationary seat, well, it was at least a good setup for someone as nervous about being on a real stage as her. Gabriella took it as a sign to build her confidence. If she could handle this, then maybe she could handle the theater stage one day. Some of this is subject to change, of course. When I make characters, I try to be open-minded about reworking their history and their design as much as I need to. So even though I feel very confident about her backstory here, maybe in the future I'll change it. With Black Sheep being a queer story, Gabriella is no exception. I'm still a little attached to her original design, and hey, I'm the artist, so Gabriella, in my mind, has always been of a she, her, he, hims pronouns kind of guy. I see Gabriella debating between the two for a while before settling on just both, because they both make him happy. I've only been using she, her up until now just for clarity's sake, but do note that Gabriella uses both equally. I imagine his family being fairly supportive, and honestly just more worried about Gabriella making friends in the first place. Like, Gabriella comes out to them as bigender when he's 14, and then every family reunion, it's nonstop jokes about the fact that she gets a custom shirt that's split down the middle of the girl design and the boy design that year. He comes out at 17 as pansexual, and all her mom and dad and brothers care about is if that means he's got a crush on someone, and whether or not he will be bringing them over soon. Gabriella would have been worried about her parents having a bad reaction because, they're from the South, but they're the kind of parents who just want to see their babies happy and thriving, especially their youngest baby that they've rarely gotten to see happy outside of home. Also, I don't think Gabriella would ever change her name, but I think nicknames like Gabby, Gabe, or even just B would come up often. Now that I've gotten her current backstory out of the way, to touch a little bit on the design itself. One of the first things I always do when creating a character is think of hair. Something you might not know about me is that even though I often deny it, I have pretty bad face blindness. I mistook two of my friends for each other for months because I physically could not tell them apart, and I saw them in class almost every single day. So the main thing that I have to go off of when it comes to recognizing people is their hair. Hair begins the basic silhouette that adds to a character's uniqueness. It's one of the things I talked about in my OC video. There are endless opportunities with hair, and as you've seen now, every time I draw Gabriella, I'm giving him a new hairstyle to see what fits. Something to note, Gabriella is black. His hair requires different things to be healthy than someone with, say, straight blonde hair. Now, my first instinct on hair texture with a black character is to go for 4B or 4C hair, as one, that's a lot of what I grew up seeing, and two, that's a very common hair texture. This type of hair is really coily and is the curliest of curls. It's a tighter spiral, and they're extremely close together, packed right on top of each other. People with this hair texture are able to shape their hair in beautiful ways because of this denseness, which allows them easier manipulation of the hair itself. So, I'm keeping in mind his personality and her daily needs with hair. Gabriella would go through periods where he really wants to stand out and when he doesn't want to draw any attention to herself. It's this constant push and pull of desperately wanting to put herself out there and being too shy to do so. To play with that, I looked for hairstyles that are versatile and can be styled in different ways. In terms of clothes, I initially wanted to have a specific aesthetic in mind when searching for references. Gabriella's choice of style was a bit hard to find, honestly, because I was having a hard time figuring out what keywords would get me towards the style I was thinking of. But in essence, Gabriella likes baggy, up-thrifted clothing, vibrant color block stuff, and nostalgic vintage wear. That's the best I can describe it for now. Of course, it could change as I get a better understanding of her character. That's all I have thought out for Gabriella now, and I'll be sure to update you if I ever change or think of anything better. I hope you've enjoyed this info dump about one of my characters. Maybe one day I'll make ones about the other characters of this group. If you have the time, check out my partner, underdogarts, and give their animation thesis a view. And subscribe to the channel to see my next video. I want to give a sincere thank you again to the patrons who've continued to support me, and thank you to the ones who've supported me in the past. I'm eternally grateful for the chance to make videos, and I hope I can continue making more. Good night, Stargazers.